The emergency council chamber on Station Primus looked like someone had dumped a box of the galaxy's most anxious beings into a blender and hit puree. Commander Vex'thaal of the Crothian Empire, all 7 feet of scaled blue warrior, was doing something his species hadn't done in roughly 4,000 years. Panicking. His 3-fingered hands trembled as he pulled up the security footage for the 17th time. Next to him, Ambassador Quilnera, whose people had survived 3 extinction-level events through sheer paranoid preparedness, had gone completely still, which was somehow more terrifying than if she'd been screaming. "Explain to me," Vex'thaal said slowly, his translator struggling with the guttural clicks of stress in his voice, "how a single human juvenile and her companion animal have caused a complete lockdown of Sector 7. A sector, I might add, that houses our most dangerous military assets." The security officer, a nervous Plenthian named Rourke, literally couldn't stop his bioluminescent spots from flashing distress patterns. "Sir, I understand how this sounds. Do you?" Quilnera's voice came out like ice cracking. "Do you really? Because from where I'm sitting, what you're telling us is that the thing we've all been warned about, the thing that made the Galactic Council implement a 300-page safety protocol, is currently loose on our station with what the humans call, and I quote, her emotional support demon. Let me back up, because if you're wondering how we got here, well, buckle in. It's a ride. 3 cycles ago, humanity had joined the Galactic Federation. Big moment, right? First contact, treaties signed, cultural exchange programs initiated. Everyone was excited. The humans seemed pleasant enough, if a bit soft and squishy compared to most Federation species. Sure, they came from a Class 12 death world, but they were so apologetic about everything, so eager to please, that we all figured the classification system had been a bit harsh. We were idiots. The first hint that something was cosmically wrong came during the biological survey. Dr. Melantha, our lead xenobiologist, had done a full analysis of human physiology. I was there when she presented her findings. I watched her tentacles literally tie themselves in knots. "They're persistence hunters," she'd said, voice shaking. "Their planet tried to kill them so many times that they evolved to just keep going. They sweat, people. They cool down by leaking liquid from their skin and can chase prey for days until it dies of exhaustion. That's disturbing," Vex'thaal had noted, "but manageable." "Oh, I'm not done," Melantha had continued, pulling up a chart that made several council members faint. "Their planet is actively hostile. Venomous creatures everywhere. Predators that see them as food. Weather systems that could tear apart our strongest ships. And they just dealt with it. Made friends with some of the predators. Turned them into pets. The word pets had confused us then. Now it haunted our dreams. See, humans have this absolutely unhinged concept where they take dangerous animals, creatures that should by all rights eat them or kill them, and they domesticate them. They turn apex predators into companions through something they call selective breeding and positive reinforcement, which sounds nice until you realize they've created monsters that are loyal only to them. They brought dogs first, descended from wolves, pack hunters with powerful jaws, but they were so well trained, so friendly, that we relaxed. Then someone approved a cultural exchange program. Bring human families to the station, let them experience galactic life, show the Federation that humans were integrating beautifully. Enter Maya Thornwood, age 9 standard years, and her emotional support animal, a creature from Earth's African continent called a honey badger. His name was Chaos. Because of course it was. Now, if you've never heard of a honey badger, congratulations on your sanity. I wish I could return to that blessed ignorance. Imagine, if you will, a creature roughly the size of a medium dog, covered in loose skin and fur, with claws that can tear through wood, and absolutely zero fear of anything in the known universe. Honey badgers, we learned too late, are basically what happens when evolution gets drunk and decides to create something that runs on pure spite and fury. They fight lions. For fun. They eat venomous snakes like candy. They've been documented breaking into human homes, not for food, but seemingly just to prove they can. One Earth researcher described them as having the survival instinct of a lemming and the attitude of a jilted god. And Maya? Oh, she loved Chaos more than anything in the galaxy. He's a rescue, she'd explained cheerfully during processing. while Chaos glared at everyone with beady black eyes that promised violence. My parents got him for me after my therapy session started. He helps with my anxiety. The processing officer had looked at this small human child with her gap-toothed smile and her demon beast, and had made the fatal mistake of assuming that anything associated with therapy and emotional support must be harmless. The paperwork was approved. Maya and Chaos were given quarters in the residential sector. Everything was fine. For about 6 hours, the first incident occurred in the station's central garden, a beautiful biodome containing plants from 17 different worlds. Maya had taken Chaos for a walk, as was routine. What nobody had anticipated was that the garden also contained Vex'thaal snapvines, a plant species that detected movement and released paralyzing spores as a defense mechanism. These plants had never encountered a honey badger before. Chaos, upon being sprayed with paralytic spores, did not collapse. He did not retreat. He looked at the plant with what witnesses described as personal offenses and proceeded to dig up the entire root system, destroy 3 decorative fountains, and somehow ended up covered in bioluminescent pollen that made him glow an eerie purple for 2 days. Maya had watched this with pride. He doesn't like being told what to do, she'd explained to the horrified groundskeepers. Incident 2 happened in the commissary. A Dravian merchant, all 9 feet and 4 arms of him, had made the mistake of trying to pet Chaos without permission. The merchant was a decorated warrior, survivor of the frontier wars, veteran of countless battles. Chaos bit him. Not hard, by honey badger standards, just a warning nip. But the merchant screamed, his pain receptors lighting up like a supernova, because Chaos's bite triggered some kind of primal fear response that Dravians apparently had buried in their genetic memory. Something about small, fearless predators. The merchant filed an official complaint. Maya had apologized. Sort of. Chaos doesn't like strangers touching him without asking. The sign on his vest says so. The sign read, "Do not pet, I am working." Though what work a honey badger could possibly be doing remained a mystery. But it was Incident 3, the big one, that led to our current situation. The Croatian military maintained a training facility on Station Primus. Elite warriors, the best of the best, trained there in combat scenarios against holographic enemies and live sparring partners. These were soldiers who had fought the insectoid swarms, who had held the line at the Battle of Terminus Gate. Maya had gotten lost trying to find the educational center and had wandered into the training facility. With Chaos, now Croatian warriors are taught from hatching that retreat is shame, that fear is weakness, that a true soldier faces any enemy without hesitation. They had never faced a honey badger before, according to the security footage, which I've now watched enough times to see it when I close my eyes. Here's what happened. Maya walked into Training Arena 5, where a squad of 10 Croatian elites were running drills. Chaos off-leash because Maya's grip had slipped, spotted the warriors, and something in his tiny, rage-filled brain decided that these large-scaled beings were a threat to his human. What followed was less a fight, and more a natural disaster with fur. Chaos didn't attack, not exactly. He did something worse. He postured. He made himself look bigger, raised his hackles, and released a musk that apparently smelled like concentrated death and bad decisions. Then he charged. The Croatian warriors, trained to fight anything from killer robots to acid-spitting aliens, took one look at this small, fearless creature running at them with absolute murder in its eyes, and their ancient instincts kicked in. They ran. Not a tactical retreat, not a strategic repositioning. Full-blown, panicked flight. One warrior tried to stand his ground. Chaos climbed him like a tree, bit his armored collar, which somehow cracked, and the warrior fainted from sheer terror. Maya had called Chaos back, given him a treat, and apologized to the unconscious soldier. By the time security arrived, all 10 Croatian elites were in the medical bay being treated for shock. 3 had resigned from military service, and 2 were requesting immediate transfer to desk positions on their homeworld. The incident report had landed on Vex'thaal's desk like a bomb. A human child's pet, he'd read aloud, defeated 10 of our finest warriors without causing physical injury, but with complete psychological devastation. And now, current time, we had a bigger problem. Maya and Chaos were missing. Not gone from the station. The sensors confirmed they were still aboard. Just somewhere in Sector 7, the high-security military sector, where we kept prototype weapons, classified research, and, oh yes, the Nexus core, which powered the entire station. How? Quilnara asked with the patience of someone who had given up on sanity. Did a 9-year-old human and her emotional support nightmare get into the most secure sector of this station? Rourke pulled up more footage. She asked nicely. Told the guard she was looking for the bathroom. And he just let her through? He's Crothian, ma'am. After what happened in the training facility, none of them want to say no to her. Vex'thaal made a sound like grinding metal. So we have a human child, who doesn't understand that most species find her pet absolutely terrifying, wandering around our weapons development sector with an animal that has already psychologically scarred military veterans. Essentially, yes, sir. And we can't just retrieve her? We tried, sir. Sent a security team. They heard chaos make a sound. Some kind of growl. They retreated. The council chamber fell silent except for the humming of station systems and the quiet sound of Quilnara's species equivalent of whimpering. Get me the human ambassador, Vex'thaal ordered. Now. Ambassador Marcus Webb appeared on screen minutes later, looking remarkably calm for someone whose species had just weaponized childhood innocence. Commander, I heard there's a situation. Your people, Vex'thaal said with admirable restraint, sent a child with a monster to my station. Chaos isn't a monster. He's a certified emotional support animal. He made 10 Crothian warriors quit. Well, Webb had the audacity to shrug. Honey badgers are naturally intimidating. But Maya has him well trained. He's never actually hurt anyone seriously. The Dravian merchant tried to pet him without permission. That's on him. The sign was clear. Vex'thaal's scales rattled, a sign of extreme agitation. They're in Sector 7. That got Webb's attention. Oh, that's not ideal. Not ideal? Not ideal? They could access weapons that could crack a planet. Maya wouldn't do that. She's a good kid. I'm not worried about Maya's intentions. I'm worried about that creature, Webb sighed. Look, here's what you need to understand about honey badgers. They're protective. Fiercely so. Chaos won't let anything happen to Maya, which means he won't let her get into actual danger. He's probably just found a quiet corner somewhere, and they're waiting. Waiting for what? For you to calm down and ask nicely for them to come out. The silence that followed was the kind you usually only hear right before stars collapse. You're telling me, Quilnara said slowly, that the solution to our high-security breach is to politely request that a 9-year-old and her demon beast please, if it's not too much trouble, leave our weapons sector? Pretty much, yeah. Vex'thaal looked like he was reconsidering every life choice that had led to this moment. Fine. Get me a communication line to that sector. Rourke set it up, hands still shaking. The comm crackled to life. Hello? Maya's voice came through, cheerful and utterly unconcerned. Is someone there? Maya, Vex'thaal said, forcing his voice into something resembling calm. This is Commander Vex'thaal. You're in a restricted area. We need you to make your way to the nearest exit. Oh, I'm sorry, we got lost. Chaos wanted to explore. In the background, they could hear it. A low, rumbling sound that technically qualified as purring but sounded more like a small engine of destruction idling. That's fine, Vex'thaal continued, his military training warring with his survival instincts. No trouble at all. Can you head back the way you came? Sure. But, there's something weird here. Every being in the council chamber froze. Weird how? Quilnara asked. There's this big glowy thing, and it's making a funny noise. Chaos doesn't like it. He keeps trying to dig under it. The Nexus core. She'd found the Nexus core, and Chaos was trying to dig under the station's power source. Maya. Webb's voice came through, urgent but controlled. Listen to me very carefully. Don't let Chaos dig. Okay? That's very important equipment. But he thinks there's something under it. There's nothing under it. It's just how it sounds. Can you put his leash on? I tried, but he's being stubborn. Of course he was. Because a honey badger's default setting was stubborn, with occasional breaks for vindictive and absolutely unhinged. Vex'thaal pulled up the sector's environmental controls. Can we, Flood the area with sleeping gas? That would knock out Maya, Rourke pointed out. And probably just make Chaos angry, Webb added. They're resistant to most toxins. Evolutionary advantage from eating venomous snakes. Of course they are. The situation was rapidly spiraling. They couldn't forcibly remove them without risking Maya's safety. They couldn't sedate Chaos without harming the child. And they couldn't just leave them there because Chaos might accidentally compromise the station's power grid while looking for imaginary prey. Wait, Quilnara said suddenly. Maya, what does Chaos like? What makes him happy? There was a pause. He really likes eggs, and he loves when I scratch behind his ears. Oh, and he has a toy, Mr. Squeaky, but I left it in our quarters. Rourke, Quilnara commanded. Get to their quarters, retrieve Mr. Squeaky, and bring it here, now. The officer ran like his life depended on it, which it sort of did. Webb nodded approvingly. Smart, distract and redirect. That's good animal handling. We, Vex'thaal said with profound weariness, are using advanced psychological tactics designed for hostage negotiations to handle a child's pet. Welcome to dealing with humans, Commander. It's going to be a learning experience for all of us. Part 2 Rourke returned in record time, clutching a battered rubber chicken that looked like it had survived several wars and possibly a nuclear incident. The thing was missing an eye, covered in what appeared to be teeth marks, and when squeezed, produced a sound that could only be described as a dying accordion having an existential crisis. This is Mr. Squeaky? Vex'thaal stared at the toy with the expression of someone whose entire worldview had just been shattered and reassembled incorrectly. Apparently, Rourke wheezed, still catching his breath. Found it under her bed next to something called a diary and a book titled How to Train Your Dragon. Of course she reads instruction manuals on dragon training, Quilnara muttered. Why wouldn't she? Webb's expression on the view screen shifted to something almost sympathetic. Look, I know this seems bizarre, but you have to understand human children and their attachment to Earth animals. We've been coexisting with dangerous species for millennia. We've turned wolves into lapdogs, wild cats into purring companions, and apparently, honey badgers into therapy animals. It's what we do. It's insane. Vex'thaal countered. Sure, but it's effective insanity. The commander grabbed Mr. Squeaky with 2 fingers, holding it at arm's length like it might explode. All right. Someone needs to deliver this to Sector 7 without causing a panic, retrieving the child and her beast, and ensuring our power core remains intact. Volunteers? The council chamber suddenly became very interested in their datapads, the ceiling tiles, literally anything except making eye contact with Vex'thaal. Nobody, really? We're the leadership of one of the galaxy's most advanced stations, and we're afraid of a single Earth animal? Yes, came the unified response. Vex'thaal's scales clicked in what might have been a laugh or possibly a nervous breakdown. Fine. I'll do it myself. But if I don't return, make sure my memorial states I died facing a worthy opponent, not that I was psychologically destroyed by something that weighs 20 pounds. 22 pounds, actually, Webb corrected helpfully. Chaos is a bit chunky. Maya sneaks him extra treats. Wonderful. That's wonderful. The walk to Sector 7 felt like a march to execution. Vex'thaal had faced down battle cruisers, negotiated with space pirates, survived a direct hit from a plasma cannon, but somehow, approaching a lockdown corridor where a small girl and her emotional support nightmare waited felt more dangerous than all of that combined. The sector entrance loomed ahead, sealed blast doors marked with warnings in 17 languages. Through his command override, Vex'thaal could hear Maya humming something, a tune that his translator identified as Let It Go from an Earth entertainment product. Chaos was making that rumbling sound again, like distant thunder mixed with a growl and a threat. He keyed the comm. Maya, it's Commander Vex'thaal. I'm coming in, and I have something for Chaos. Oh good, he's getting grumpy. I think he's hungry. Grumpy. The creature that had terrorized trained warriors was merely grumpy. The blast doors hissed open. Vex'thaal stepped through. Mr. Squeaky held out like a peace offering to an angry deity. What he saw made him stop dead. Maya sat cross-legged on the floor near the Nexus Core's access panel, her small frame dwarfed by the massive energy conduits pulsing with blue light. She'd apparently been drawing, because there were colorful marks on a datapad, pictures of what looked like flowers and stars, and a distinctly badger-shaped blob with hearts around it. And Chaos, oh Chaos, was currently wedged halfway under a maintenance panel, his back legs sticking out, dirt flying as he dug with single-minded determination. He really thinks something's down there, Maya explained, looking up at Vex'thaal with eyes that held absolutely no fear. I told him there's probably nothing, but he's convinced. Vex'thaal approached slowly, every instinct screaming at him to run. Up close, he could see why Chaos terrified people. It wasn't just the claws, though those were impressive, or the teeth, which were definitely nightmare fuel. It was the attitude. This creature looked at the universe and found it wanting. Chaos, Vex'thaal said. Surprised, his voice worked. I have Mr. Squeaky. The digging stopped. Slowly, deliberately, Chaos backed out of the hole he'd created. His head emerged, covered in dust, and what appeared to be insulation foam. Those black eyes fixed on Vex'thaal with an intensity that suggested the honey badger was calculating exactly how much effort it would take to turn this interruption into a learning experience about respecting personal space. Then Chaos saw the toy. The transformation was instant and absolutely bewildering. The murder machine became, for lack of a better term, excited. He bounded toward Vex'thaal with a gait that could only be described as enthusiastic chaos, grabbed Mr. Squeaky in his jaws, and proceeded to shake it with enough force to decapitate a smaller creature. Squeak, squeak. He missed his toy, Maya beamed, standing up and brushing off her pants. Thank you for bringing it, Commander. That was really nice of you. Vex'thaal, still processing the fact that he'd just witnessed a honey badger express joy, managed a nod. We need to get you both back to the residential sector. This area isn't safe for visitors. Oh, I know. We got lost. The signs are confusing. Maya picked up her datapad, completely at ease. Chaos wanted to explore, and I thought maybe we could find something cool, but it's mostly just hallways and weird glowing things. Weird glowing things that power the entire station. Yeah, those. She paused, looking genuinely apologetic. Did we cause trouble? People have been acting strange around Chaos. On Earth, honey badgers are considered tough, but here everyone seems scared. How to explain this? How to tell a 9-year-old that her emotional support animal was essentially a walking psychological warfare device? Your companion is unique. Vex'thaal chose his words carefully. Most species in the Federation evolved on worlds less challenging than Earth. We don't have animals quite like Chaos. He's very brave. He is. Maya's face lit up. He's the bravest. One time, back home, a dog 3 times his size tried to be mean, and Chaos just stood there and made his warning sound. And the dog ran away. My therapist says Chaos helps me feel safe because nothing scares him. Nothing scares him. That was the problem, wasn't it? The entire galaxy had evolved with appropriate fear responses, healthy respect for danger, sensible survival instincts, and then humans showed up with their Deathworld pets who looked at existential threats and thought, yeah, I could take that. Come on. Vex'thaal gestured toward the exit. Let's get you home. The walk back was surreal. Maya chatted happily about her favorite subjects in school, her friends back on Earth, how excited she was to try food from different planets. Chaos trotted alongside her, Mr. Squeaky clamped firmly in his jaws, occasionally stopping to investigate interesting smells or glare at passing maintenance drones. They passed a group of technicians who immediately flattened themselves against the wall, eyes wide. Maya waved cheerfully. Chaos squeaked his toy at them. One technician fainted. Does that happen a lot? Maya asked, concerned. More than you'd think. When they finally reached the residential sector, Maya's parents were waiting, looking worried but not particularly surprised. Her mother, Dr. Lisa Thornwood, a xenobotanist, rushed forward. Maya, we were so worried. You can't just wander off on an alien station. Sorry, Mom. We got lost. But Commander Vex'thaal helped us, and he brought Mr. Squeaky. Her father, Dr. James Thornwood, a cultural anthropologist, gave Vex'thaal an apologetic smile. Thank you for finding her. And for not, freaking out about Chaos. Most people do. I noticed, Vex'thaal said, dryly. Might I suggest keeping him on a shorter leash? We've tried. Lisa sighed. He's escaped from every containment system we've designed. Turns out honey badgers are excellent problem solvers when they want to be. Usually, Maya's the only one who can control him. Maya knelt down, scratching behind Chaos's ears. The honey badger made a sound that was probably affection but sounded like a garbage disposal grinding rocks. He's a good boy. Aren't you, Chaos? Yes, you are. Even if you did make the soldiers scared. About that, James cleared his throat. We've been informed that several Crothian warriors have requested transfers. Is there going to be consequences? Vex'thaal considered this. By all rights, there should be. Security breaches, unauthorized access to restricted areas, psychological damage to military personnel. But looking at Maya, this small human child who just wanted her friend to feel included, who had no idea that her pet was the most terrifying thing most species had ever encountered, he found he couldn't quite summon the proper outrage. Just keep him in designated areas, and maybe put a warning sign on your quarters. Something like, caution, Earth, death world animal inside. We can do that, Lisa agreed quickly. Back in the council chamber, Quilnara and Rourke were waiting anxiously. The moment Vex'thaal entered, they both started talking at once. Is the Nexus core intact? Did anyone die? Are you traumatized? Vex'thaal collapsed into his chair with all the grace of a building being demolished. The core is fine. Nobody died. And yes, I'm absolutely traumatized. But I'll cope. Therapy exists for a reason. So what do we do? Quilnara asked. We can't just let this continue. Every time that creature appears, productivity drops by 40% because everyone's either hiding or having panic attacks. I've been thinking about that. Vex'thaal pulled up the Federation's cultural exchange protocols. Humans are new to the galactic community. They don't fully understand how unusual they are, how their normal is everyone else's nightmare fuel. So we educate them? No. We adapt. He highlighted a section of the diplomatic codes. We create designated Earth animal zones, areas where humans can bring their pets without causing galaxy-wide incidents. We also implement an education program, teaching other species about Earth fauna so they're not caught off guard. Rourke looked skeptical. You want us to get used to creatures like Chaos? I want us to coexist. The humans are here to stay. They're brilliant, creative, resilient, and yes, absolutely unhinged by our standards. But they're also allies, strong ones. And if we can't handle a single honey badger, how are we going to manage when they introduce us to their bears? Or their big cats? Or, heaven help us, their Australian wildlife? The room fell silent as the implications sank in. There are worse things than honey badgers on Earth? Quilnara whispered. Oh, so much worse. Vex'thaal confirmed. I did some research. There are spiders the size of dinner plates, snakes that can swallow prey whole, fish that can strip flesh in seconds, and something called a cassowary that's basically a living dinosaur with anger management issues. And humans just live with these things? They domesticated some of them. The others they just avoid. Mostly. Quilnara made a decision. All right. We adapt. We learn. We create the safety zones and the education programs. Because if a 9-year-old human and her therapy animal can make our strongest warriors resign, imagine what their actual military could do if properly motivated. Exactly. Vex'thaal stood, feeling oddly energized despite the day's chaos. The humans are deathworlders. They survived on a planet that actively tried to kill them, and they thrived. They turned predators into pets, disasters into adventures, and fear into fascination. We either learn from them or spend the rest of our existence hiding every time a human brings their dog for a walk. Ambassador Webb's face reappeared on the view screen. I've been monitoring. Sounds like you've come to some conclusions? We're creating accommodation protocols, and we'd appreciate human input on proper safety measures. Happy to help. And for what it's worth, I'm sorry about the scare. We forget sometimes that what's normal for us is, well, not normal for anyone else. That's putting it mildly. Hey, look at it this way. At least now you know that if there's ever a real threat to the station, you've got a secret weapon. Just point Maya and Chaos at the problem, and watch it solve itself through sheer terror. Vex'thaal couldn't help it. He laughed. A real, genuine laugh that surprised even himself. That's the most terrifying military strategy I've ever heard. Welcome to humanity, Commander. We specialize in terrifying strategies delivered with a smile. 3 weeks later, the new protocols were in place. Earth animal zones were established, complete with reinforced play areas and warning systems. Educational seminars about Earth fauna became mandatory for all station personnel. There was even a support group for those traumatized by encounters with human pets. Maya and Chaos became something of station celebrities. Children from other species would watch from safe distances as Chaos performed tricks for treats, equal parts fascinated and horrified. Maya started a blog about life on the station, including helpful tips like how to tell if a honey badger is actually angry or just looks that way, and why you should never, ever try to pet strange Earth animals. The Crothian warriors who'd encountered Chaos were slowly recovering. 2 had even returned to active duty, claiming the experience had taught them valuable lessons about facing the unknown. One warrior, Sekthor, became an unlikely friend to Maya, often joining her for lunch and listening to stories about Earth with the fascination of someone who'd survived a natural disaster and wanted to understand it better. And Chaos? Well, Chaos remained Chaos, fearless, stubborn, occasionally destructive, but ultimately loyal to his small human. He'd found a new favorite spot near the observation deck where he could watch ships come and go while Maya did her homework. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Humans were here, and they brought their whole planet with them, pets and all. You could either spend your life in fear, or you could adapt, learn, and maybe, just maybe, appreciate the absolute audacity of a species that looked at the universe's dangers and said, "Yeah, but have you met my emotional support, honey badger?" As for Vex'thaal, he kept Mr. Squeaky in his office as a reminder that sometimes the scariest things in the universe came in small packages with big attitudes, and that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology or their tactics, but their unshakable belief that anything, even a honey badger, could be a friend if you just gave it enough patience, love, and apparently, squeaky toys. The end. Or rather, the beginning of a very interesting era of human and galactic integration, where the phrase, "it's just a pet," would never quite mean the same thing again.